one channel. So I saw some comments in the last AutoCAD video that I made that was specifically around, hey, can you make a butterfly jig? Well, I'm going to show you a couple methods that you can use. You can base it off of the last video that I did and create a form and go from there. But how I actually like to do some type of modeling is actually just drawing it out and doing the math myself. So this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did and how we can get up with something that may resemble some type of butterfly jig. So if you're not familiar with one, I pulled up here a quick Google search of butterfly jigs, and these are what you get. You can see here, it's some of these are a tapered front, big mid body, and then just kind of a squatty back at the end. You also get some short, very long, narrow ones, but all of them basically are the same, where you have some hard edges and some type of hard ridge line or even some multi-surface lines. It's basically just to make it flutter within the water. So again, they come in various shapes and sizes, and you can see some big name brands, but this is actually one that I'm going to show you kind of how to make this, where it's got a flat surface on the top here and then two side flat surfaces, but having this general shape. So that's what I want to show you today. So stay tuned and we'll get into it. So I'm going to go ahead here and start off with a new design because I had to run a test on the other one just to kind of make sure I had my bearings straight here. Haven't used Fusion 360 in a while, and I just noticed that they updated it with meshes. So if you're getting into 3D printing, there is actually some tutorials and videos through AutoCAD that show you how to create meshes. Meshing is an old style type of idea that was coming from basically the original 3D modeling of Fusion, or not really Fusion, but 3D modeling of AutoCAD in general. And it sounds like they brought it back because it's easier to calculate and compute and create 3D type models for 3D printing. So search online, there's a bunch of videos I saw already of people posting it, but it's pretty cool to see that technology coming back, because meshes, I feel, are way more superior than some of the surface modelings that we have, or even vice versa, So anyway, let's get off that little train here and let's start to create some type of butterfly jig. So like we saw earlier, it's I would say 0.25 diameter. Well, that's 25 diameter. 0.25. My computer can work today. 0.25. Ah, there we go. 0.25. And roughly some of them are, I would say, on the back end here, let's say 0.5. There was that big bulge kind of in the middle here, so let's say 1.5. And these are all rough items. You can kind of modify it however you want, however you see fit. But we're going to try to create some arcs, and we want some tangent arcs. So I want a tangent arc from here. And I guess, which one do we want to do here? Do we want to do center, a 3-point tangent arc? I think the tangent arc, if we can get this to work. So I want to start, if we can, and I guess we're going to do a 3-point. So I want the start and I want the end, and I can kind of come up with that. That made it tangent to there. Same here. Actually, what we're going to do is revolve this, so it's going to be a little bit different for right this second. But we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay. So you can see this overlap here. I don't like to have overlaps, especially with this. So for this case, what I'm actually going to do is draw a center line around here, because when we get done with this object, we can actually just fill it and rotate and revolve, or basically we can fix this up. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I'm actually just going to extend it for right now. So modify, And these are some pretty cool tricks that I remember learning a long time ago. Was if you ever are looking to do some type of hard edge, you can actually just do a fillet with a 90 degree. So if you ever had some type of two lines that weren't meeting and you wanted to get creative, you could actually just fillet them with a 90 degree and have zero fillet, but it would extend the two together. Here, let me show you an example. If you had a line here and a line here, and this is an old professor of mine back in college that showed us this back in the day. If you had two lines that were so close and just touching, you can click these two, set the fillet to 0, and well, in original AutoCAD, I guess in this one it's not going to do it, but in the original AutoCAD you could actually just say your fillet was 0 and it would just connect the two lines. It would basically extend. But apparently AutoCAD deleted that, so sorry, Mr. Boudreau, my apologies. It is now officially not available in Fusion, which I'm sure you, knowing you already knew that. So let's go ahead here and extend these lines together. That's roughly the general shape of what we were looking at. And if these two are connected or not, I don't believe they might be, but let's just trim these two back. And it looks like we have just a little bit of segment in there, which is perfect. I'm okay with that. We'll go ahead and delete that. All right. So once this is complete, I forgot to make this a construction line. So I just clicked on the line, physically clicked the word, this line type construction, if you were wondering what I was doing. You do need a solid line from end to end and make that nice shaded area. So we're going to go ahead and finish that sketch. I'm going to offset this just a little bit so we can see what happens here, but we're going to go ahead and revolve. So we're going to make sure it's selected that body. We're going to select this axis plane, and we're basically going to make the bullet shape. 360 degrees, new body, and that's it. So that's how you make the butterfly. No, I'm kidding. All right, now we have to get into creating those extra shapes that we were just showing. So what I want to start off with is a sketch, and we're going to pull up the side here. So if you notice, there were 3 different contour planes. There was one that was going on this angle. There was one going on this angle. So there's a few type of things that we have to do here. First off, I would say we're going to have to create our first point of angle reference. And this gets a little tricky, so bear with me for 1 second. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it for right now, but we can always add dimensions to this and, try to make it a little bit smoother of a transition if we think we need it. Once I've drawn my major line, again, we're going to be cutting this out of the 3D shape that we just made. And I love 3D modeling this way because you can use math, and it's not as artistic, I would say, as that press pull method that we were doing with the form tool in the last video. So we're going to go ahead and finish that sketch. I'll come back and we can copy this and mirror it if it's the right shape. So let's just work on 1/2 first, then we'll come back, do the bottom half, and that should be it. So I'm going to go here and extrude. Since it's cutting the part in half, we'll make this easy, make it symmetric, and just extend it out to who cares, and make sure your operation is cut. Go ahead and click OK. Like I said, we're going to clean up these tips from the bullet shape that we're making here, but overall, that's starting to get us to where we want it to be. Let's go ahead here, and we're going to make a couple of extra cuts as well on this side. So I want to cut the shape on some angles on the front there. So let's go ahead, create a plane on this one. And we're going to kind of just eyeball, let's say, maybe right there. Find the center, which is right. We're going to just kind of pick that point as our arbitrary point. Click there, and we wanted to incorporate everything and click OK. Again, I'm going to create a construction line down the middle, and we're going to mirror all of this minus the center line there. Select the mirror line, click OK. Finish sketch. Okay. Now next is we're going to extrude those two just like we did the other one. And you can see now it's kind of starting to make those three shapes. So there's a couple things you can do here. We can actually click and try to press pull some of these items, and you can see the math just kind of doesn't work right. So if the angle and the complex surface geometry is not in the position that you want, then you have to figure out where exactly you made your mistake. So in this case, it is on the higher portion. If I look here, see how the intersecting point is on the higher portion. So if I just come back here into my sketch, edit sketch, I need to move these down slightly. So I'm going to go ahead and again create a construction line here. Create one that comes across, and I'm going to say D, or if you go into create here, you can go to sketch dimension, or just click the letter D. I'm going to create this dimension here because I want to be a little bit more precise on lowering this. So right now it's 0.15. Let's try just 0.1. And that did not move the one that I wanted it to move. So let's go ahead here, undo. We're going to move this. And I bet you it's locked because of it being mirrored. That's just my my take on it. I mean, we could sit here and delete all these incidents, but it's not worth it. So we'll go here and we'll move it down accordingly. And again, this is just going to be an eyeball type situation here. If I go ahead and, oh, look at that. I can make that look a little different too. That's not a bad idea. All right. We're just going to click and drag a few things and see how this looks. So go ahead, finish sketch. And hey, that's actually moving in the right direction. That's about center. That's where I wanted it to be. So dumb luck here. We were able to make that complex surface the way that we wanted it. So once that's done, go ahead here, and we want to basically just end up mirroring everything that we just did across the plane that we just created. So we'll go back to the original sketch real quick here. Oh, not that far back. Edit sketch. And again, create a construction line. We can do a center line over there. Finish sketch. Don't know what that is. Let's delete that. All right, mirror this surface. So we're just going to create that. It's going to mirror over there. Finish that. Now you're like, wait, where did it go? If we edit feature and extrude, then we could just select that one as well and hit OK. And then the same thing here, edit sketch. We're going to make sure we got that. Create the mirror line across the side. I'm just going to use a solid line because it doesn't really matter. We're going to grab this, mirror it, make sure that we click that line. Oh, this is why you want to not do what I just did. But anyway, sorry. Highlight this. Let's mirror it. Select our mirror line. It's that line. Click OK. Finish sketch. Again, edit feature, and just end up selecting those two and click OK. So now you can see we're mirrored on both sides. And what now we need to do is try to clean up all these edges. So remember on the original sketch how we had that weird circular item, and I just said we could, round it off pretty easily. Well, we'll just go ahead here, use the fillet tool, and let's just give this a shot real quick. Fillets cannot be created. Perfect. Okay, so that's lesson 1. Let's go ahead here and try to fillet and see if we can somehow fillet this. Let's say 0.1, 0.2. So you'll know if these work is if you start seeing them. If you don't see anything pop up, then you know your chamfer's too big. So 0.125, still too big. 0.1 seems to start showing that. So we're gonna hit OK, because it actually is around here that we see that. And ultimately, we just want to get rid of that little nub. So I don't know if we can press pull the tip. I don't know if this is going to work. That did not work. Let's undo that. Redo the fillet. We got to figure out how we're removing these tips. And the only other way that I can think of doing it, which is a little crazy and cockamamie, but it works, is just creating a circle here. And we just want to move it. Let's delete this for right this second. We're going to create a circle, cut it out of a rectangle and just cut. So I want it here, and I want a circle there, and I want it to round out the edge of this. So I'll find a point that looks about right. You can be more precise on this one if you want. I'm gonna go back in that sketch real quick. That sketch. We're gonna trim up that because we want the cutting tool to be there. Like I said, this is going to be very, very haphazard. We're gonna just pull that, click OK. So that looks really bad. It really does, actually. So if you were machining this out of metal, you might want to just leave the tip and have it post-processed, you know, like you cleaning it up or something of that nature. But that's roughly how I would be doing some type of butterfly jig on the computer. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit better of, you know, the trials and errors of AutoCAD. This is how I would create something. If I wanted to create like a bowl or maybe, you know, like a one-sided spoon, if you, we'll just show for simplicity, if you created some form of circle, and actually, hold on one second here. I'm gonna just do it this way. If you had some type of circle, delete that. And delete that. Hold on one more second here. There we go. This is why I delete from the timeline, because if you click on items, they sometimes won't delete right. Let's say you wanted a regular spoon, and you're like, well, how do I make that concave, you know, object inside of it? Same concept, except all you would be doing is creating some form of other circle inside the circle. So if we dimension from here to, just finish that. There we go. So if you're about here and you created like your concave shape, again, that's how I would do it. You can then say offset. You can offset this, and if you even wanted it to be sweeping on an angle here. So let's try. Let's do this just to show you, because I'm sure someone else will ask this as another question here. So we'll create a sketch here. We'll create a spline from like the center, and I want it to just slightly go there, and we'll save that and click OK. When I extrude, if I've created that spline, and wow, that's not even remotely close to where I needed it to be. This is why drawing separately, stinks. Ooh. So let's actually, body 1, we'll hide that for right this second. Body 2, we're going to move it. We're going to move this. And I wish I always remembered where the easiest way to move to origins this was. So modify, move. We're going to do from point, and I want, this body. I'm going to do point to point, origin point. I'm going to pick the center line of that. We're going to move it to there and click OK. Then we're going to move this. We're going to just move it straight down slightly. Click OK. Then we're going to select this one, modify, move. We're going to do the point to point again. We're not going to select a body, but we're selecting a sketch object. Point to point, origin point here, origin point there. Okay. And actually we wanted the quadrant point, but that's okay. This is fine. We'll go ahead here and just move this. Move, translate, come up. There we go. If we scroll in, this is another trick. You can get more accuracy, so we'll say around there. All right, anyway. Now I want to extrude along that path because I want 2 different out shapes. And eventually what I'll do is we'll just do that real quick here. Go ahead, go back into the sketch real quick. And we will create a offset. Modify maybe? Yeah, there it is. Offset. We're gonna select, oh man, this is bad. Edit sketch. Offset. This one. And we want it maybe 0.15, sure. 0.15 thickness. So we're gonna go ahead and extrude. We're gonna extrude the top here. And just to try, we're gonna try to, not extrude. We're gonna sweep it. So we can sweep it. We're not revolving it. We're not gonna loft it, not creating a rib. So hopefully sweep works. So if we say this, and I want to sweep it, that's the profile, and I want the path is this. And I want to just take where it's intersecting. Check this out. Click OK. There's my complex shape. And that would be, potentially what another type of spoon or some type of jig would look like. Where you would have a multi-curvature type surface. And again, you can fillet these edges. So if we select these, and this is where it gets, fun. Select all 4 corners there, and we'll try to combine them until it errors out. So you can see the mathematics on trying to create a fillet ends up failing. So then you have to get a little creative because it's trying to mathematically generate this item. So there is some little tricks and tips that you guys can use to utilize that. But that's another way to get some type of complex shape that's mathematically acceptable instead of going through and creating some type of form. So hopefully that helps you guys understand. We're going to just, move this so you can see both of them, but that is how I would create some type of butterfly jig or some type of spoon with a multi-curvature type surface inside AutoCAD. And again, Fusion 360 does have multiple options for you to do. So hopefully that helps or shows everything. If I was to create a mold for this, again, I would be following my first video and taking this, creating two sides, and creating some type of injection mold. Since these are metal spoons or metal jigs, obviously you don't injection mold metal spoons or metal jigs. You would actually cast them in some type of metal. So either you could machine them out of metal, which is not the ideal, or you would basically create these, 3D print them, create a sand casting impression or some type of sand casting. And same concept where you would create a pour spout and everything, 3D print these. You could put them in sand and just pour hot metal liquid onto them, or sand cast in 2-part mold. Pull your sand casting, pull the template out and then just fill it up with like maybe lead. So, well, anyway, I won't let this video linger because we did 2 different types of items. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know. And again, thank you. If you do want to see videos like this, again, please let me know. Leave a comment in the video description. Thank you everyone who's watched my first video. Sorry if it was very long and it wasn't into the amount of detail you might want to have seen, but hopefully in my next video that we can put together part 2. This I'll say is part 1.5, but part 2 hopefully we'll go into more details about projecting lines onto surfaces, and that's how I created the any type of scale work on that one lure that was in the video. It's a very simple concept, a very simple process. Once you've created everything of that nature, and then you just use a pipe command to basically create a solid pipe that you would then use as part of your scale patterns. But in order to do that, you would have to project maybe lines onto a plane or surface. So if you guys want to stick around, actually, I'll just go ahead and do that real quick here. So again, if you don't care about getting more details, you can end the video right now. If you want to watch me how to add more details, maybe we'll add some scales to this real quick. I'll show you how we do that. So first off, in order to do this, we need to create some form of line patterns, or let's say like some zigzags, or maybe add some, a checker to this surface. So we'll start off creating a sketch, and we want to just make sure that we create the sketch preferably higher than where we are, but because we want to project this. So let's just go ahead here. Let's create a sketch, and there's normally a way to create the plane offset. Offset plane, select my plane, offset it, let's say 3 inches. Okay, create my sketch off this plane. Boom. Now we're creating a plane 3 inches above. That's what I want to do. So I'll go here and create some lines, and for this one, I think it'll look nice if we had some lines going maybe like that, 125 degrees. Create this, and we're just going to do a rectangular pattern. Click this. We're going to stretch that out, and we're going to just create a few of them, I guess. We'll extend it over the entire length that we want to do. So let's say we'll go to there, to the intersection point. And we'll see if we can. Oh, because we created the line here, it's going to start there. So there should be, there you go, symmetric. And that's where we can create that. And let's just, that looks good. Click OK. So now I want to project this line onto that surface. And in order to do that, I have to remember. All right, so let's give this a shot here. We're going to go ahead and once you've drawn our lines that we have here on a sketch, I keep getting the error message about projecting to the same one. So let's go ahead and try this out real quick. I'm going to create a brand new sketch onto the surface that I want to project that sketch onto. So I created a plane onto that surface. And then now what I'm going to do is go to Create, Project, Project to the surface, and I'm going to select the face, and I'm going to select the curve, and that's exactly why. Now I'm projecting these lines onto the surface. Go ahead and click OK. They couldn't be projected, that's fine. And we can finish the sketch. So now you can see that I've projected these lines onto the surface and it's matching, the curvature of it. And go ahead here, go to my sketches. We can go ahead and turn off those lines. So like I was saying, now since I have these points, I can actually come in here and create a pipe. We use the pipe command. And I'm going to select these. And you might say, whoa, 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 that's way too big. But if you make them a little bit smaller, and there should be a way to select everything. But we're just going to say okay for right now. That's how you end up getting the projected items, onto there. You should be able to go ahead and select everything. And I think this was a problem with it the last time that I was having, was the pipe tool, unless you've, I think you can, let's just try this real quick. I think if you hold control, and I've done this before as a group, because it does get time consuming when you get intricate with all the everything. But let's go ahead here, try to create a pipe, and yeah, it just wants to select one at a time. I don't know if there's a easier way to do it. If someone knows how to multi-select that, I've tried to group it before, and I remember having the same exact issue where I had to come in here, create a pipe, and do it that way. And the reason why, I did it this way is because ultimately you're just going to have the tool bit do a deep path when you go into the manufacturer portion of the software. And if you were to be manually carving this out, I would just do a 2D path along. You can either actually select that and make it go along the along there, or you would just select the surface. So I mean, ultimately, to be honest with you, you don't have to model the detail if you're going to carve this out. So like if you wanted to create a sand casting and you didn't have a 3D printer, but you had a CNC and you wanted to make maybe an aluminum, we'll call it a master, and you were going to just then, sand cast the master and then basically, reproduce off of one master that's made out of metal, then you would just carve this out of 3D, or carve this out on your CNC and then end up making all your detail marks. But that's how you project lines onto there. That's how I did the scales on the one from the first video that I showed you guys briefly. And then the same thing goes for creating some type of eye. Let's hypothetically say you just create a sphere. You can click anywhere and you can just make some type of sphere. And this way it actually just cut it, so it is a indentation. But you can also not cut it if you want, but that's how you would add some form of indentation eye for any type of jig. So again, hopefully that helps you if you were trying to figure out how to do this. That's how I project things onto surfaces and create a little bit of detail. Just get very familiar with the project command, because it is something that ends up being your friend, especially when you're working on multi-surfaces, trying to match things up. You can just sketch above it and then project it down onto it. All right, well, thank you for watching. Hopefully this was a little bit better of a part 2 video. And again, appreciate everyone's time. And thanks for watching. Have a good one.